Okay, and before we leave talking about your career, what else have you done?
I could retire. I found out that I could retire with the number of years I had taught and so forth. So I said, this is it for me. But I continued to run libraries for them, like for half a year as a teacher, retired teacher, because you need special skills to run libraries, and I had my library papers. And I also, that's the time when I decided that I had to do something about Holodomor. I did workshops prior to that on Holodomor and on internment of World War I. And it just came out that the Toronto District School Board was introducing a genocide course, and they were not including the Holodomor. And I was part and parcel of that board, and I was upset. So I had to stay in the back for a while because there was a conflict of interest until I resigned. And then when I did resign, I came out, and I talked to Cook, to the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, that we have to do something about this. And so I got involved in working on getting the Holodomor into the curriculum in Ontario.
So you started doing that in the 80s?
I did, the first time I did a workshop on the Holodomor was in the 80s, yes, with Oris Subtenny, by the way, who was teaching at York University. They were doing a half day on the Holocaust, and then they, because I talked about it with my colleagues, one of them suggested, said, Valentina, why don't you do it on your Ukrainian genocide? So we did. And I called Oris to come in, and he did an hour lecture on the history of Ukraine, giving the information, and I did the teacher thing, where it fits into our curriculum and why it should be taught and how it should be taught. So we did this, and that was a good thing. So that was then. And then after that, we set up a special committee I got all professional people, a trustee, a principal who was teaching the principal's course at the OHUC, myself as a specialist in history. We had parents, we had, we came in and we knew what we were doing. And I think that little shocked the TDSB a little bit. And they did pass a resolution that they were going to have a special Memorial Day for us, and they actually had 2 of their staff members produce 2 units of study, and I was the consultant. I helped them. I provided all the materials, etc. And so it started. And then I realized that it wasn't enough just to do it in Ontario. You have to go across the country. And so I convinced Cook that we shouldn't just have an awareness committee on the Holodomor. We need an education committee, and I was prepared to be the chair. And so that's where I'm still doing that. Mm-hmm. And that helped because there were people in other provinces that had already started this as well. But you need coordination. And so I helped to coordinate these things so that we could share our resources and we could do things. So, and out of all that, the Holodomor Research and Education Consortium was born. I had been talking about having a center, a permanent location, not just a committee of volunteers, that we needed a solid base for something like this to continue so that it could be there after I'm gone, after I'm finished, and someone could be hired and to continue this work. And my good friend, Jim Timerte, who has sponsored many good projects, phoned me one day and said, I guess I should be doing something, shouldn't I? I never asked him for money. But anyway, so this he decided to sponsor, and that was good because now we have a research arm and we have an education arm. And so since then, there have been 2 conferences that I've organized, one in 2013 in Toronto, and we just finished a very successful conference on Holodomor education at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg with 120 attendees. And what was unique about it was that we had academics, so we had 2 academics who were the keynote speakers. And then we had faculty of education staff who actually teach teachers how to teach about methodologies. They came from the University of Manitoba and from the University of Winnipeg and took part in our discussions and took part in our panels and so forth. And then we had over 90 teachers from across Canada, from different grade levels, and I would say about 60% of them were non-Ukrainians, which for me was a blessing because finally we are getting into the mainstream, and it was extremely important. And from all that, over the last 10 years, I've been working on a workbook, which I hope is going to be published this year. It's called the genocide, the Holodomor in Ukraine, the genocidal famine, 1932-33, learning materials, learning activities for teachers and students. And it's about 300 pages, and it has everything a teacher needs in order to be able to teach it. At least I think so. I tried to think, if I were doing this, I didn't know anything about it, what is it that I would need? So you have materials that you can hand out to kids. You have lesson plans that they could use. And that makes it very important that it gets published. And during the conference, I handed out a small little booklet that comes out of this book, which is the booklet that is going to be published. It's just going through its last edit. So, and teachers came up to me and they said, this is exactly why we came to this conference. We need materials. And so I think that's very important. And I know myself, if I have to teach something, if I don't have time to look for materials, I will not teach it. So this is going to be a blessing, I hope.